of Iraq, and one of the few Naqshbandi Hanbalis that I've ever ran across in writings. Then you have Amir Abdul Qadir al-Jazairi. He died in 1300 AH. This was the same Amir Abdul Qadir that fought at al-Jazairi, that fought and defeated the French. However, when captured, he began to become disillusioned and went through some tribulations in his later life. That can be spoken about at another place. Inshallah, we'll break now. وَقُولَ قَوْلِ هَذَا اسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ اسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ يَرْحَمُنِ الرَّاحِمِينَ. I realize I've gone over a lot of detail in a short period of time. It was not my intent to sort of bombard anyone. My question now really to you is to open up the floor and to now ask you, what are your questions? I'll start with this written question. It states, quote, an organization by the name of Al-Maghrib have organized a weekend course. Are they a valid organization? What are their beliefs? Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Al-Maghrib is a Salafi organization that pretends that they are not Salafis and doesn't use Salafi language, although they teach the Salafi theology. They pretend that they follow madhab and they respect madhabs, and in reality they follow no madhab but the madhab of their nafs. My advice to you, if you like drinking theological bleach and ammonia mixed together, that is your personal choice. But as a sincere advice of one Muslim to another, don't poison yourself. Is there another question? Yes?
Can I just have a few more details about the Spanish Inquisition and how it actually ended up in the United States?
Most likely by Catholic, the fact that some Catholics had a stake in some of the property in the U.S. We have to remember Pizarro and others that had come to Mexico. Some of them were purchasing properties in the east coast of the United States, but they were eventually bought out by English settlers and others. And that's the reason why they had some garrisons there. And
Catholics were actually pursuing Muslims in these areas?
yes, and also Jews as well.
Okay.
Yeah? Yes?
Just a question about this Deobandi issue. Do they have, because you're saying that they had similarities within their theology, by that do you mean creed?
Yes, their creed, yes.
So just like, then why do like the so-called Bareillis or other people go around labeling them as kuffar? Is it because the faction split? So like there were some people of Salaffiyah within the Deoband, but then on top of that there's people of the Hanafi fiqh that adhere to everything that Ahmad Rida Khan was talking about. So like just like modern day scholars like Muhammad ibn Adam and Sheikh Abu Ja'far Al-Hanbali, I mean some people will say that these people are not Muslim. But from when I've listened to a lot of their talks and I've read quite a few of their books, all they do is quote everything that Imam Abu Hanifa ever spoke about, something like that. So where have they? I mean it's corrupt in regards to them, other people doing the fear of them. But why have they come to this sort of conclusion? Is it because, say, for instance, they had a difference of creed in terms of, like, so one faction might believe that the Prophet didn't have no things, or that his parents were in hell for eternity, and so on and so forth.
Okay. The question is regarding why there seems to be a blanket takfir by some people from Jama'at al-Sunnah regarding the members of Deoband, when in fact actuality there are these two factions within them, and why there are these issues that continue to persist when we can see that there are scholars from among them like Imam Muhammad ibn Adam al-Kawthari and Sheikh al-Haq, and I would say Imam Ahmad Ali and others that have the theology of Muslim orthodoxy. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I'll say this in the beginning. If someone wants to understand the theology of Sheikh al-Haq, he released a 7-tape set on the creed of Imam al-Tahawi. I've listened to that set numerous times. I don't find any errors in his theology. None. And I've listened to it back to back. None. And that text, that 7-tape set is just based on the Tahawi text. Him elucidating sections, speaking about it, found no errors in theology. None. Imam Muhammad bin Adam al-Kawthari, he had learned from and has contact with one of the great living Hanafi muftis, Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Latif al-Farfur in Sham, who's a big Hanafi judge. He didn't find errors in his theology. In fact, he taught him theology. So if we find this within them, why would we then say that these figures, and including Imam Ahmad Ali as well, why would we say that these people are kuffar? Because some of the people from Jama'at al-Sunnah do not make a difference between the sections that exist. There are two specific fissures within Deoband, and they don't make that difference. Some of the people within Deoband, as I said, wrote books and wrote things that were blameworthy. And we know that they did because we've got the documentation here. It's in Arabic because the people they wrote in Arabic. We have the documentation. It's here. We have other documents here in Arabic. We know that they wrote it. It's not a matter of could they, might they have. No, we know that they did. That's wrong. But that's not representative of all of Deoband. Because we know others amongst them, like Imdadullah Muhajir Mekki, didn't write those things. So then where do we stand then? We stand as being properly balanced people that our assumption, because Deoband is originally based on a Sunni foundation, is that when we meet them, we assume that they're from Muslim Orthodoxy unless they give us reason to assume otherwise. Whereas some of the people from Jama'at Ahl Sunnah have made the assumption, we assume that they're deviated unless they give us proof to believe otherwise. Which is precisely the position of Salaffiyah, which is an error on their part. So in looking at this whole issue, my understanding has been that when you meet people from Deoband, that you have to come to them on a case-by-case level. You can't come to them and assume all, because it's ridiculous when you look at Imam Muhammad ibn Adam al-Kawthari, other Deobandis say, he's not Deobandi. That's how upon the creed of Muslim Orthodoxy, he's not from us. Because that's that section within the Deoband that despises any change or any difference with that doctrine. He said, no, he's not from us. Which is a sign that he is from us. Because he's saying all the right things he's supposed to say. His creed is the same. If you go on his website, his theology is identical to mine with the exception of a couple things. But his creed is identical to mine. Why would then we therefore say that, yeah, he doesn't know this, he doesn't know that? He's one of the few people I met from Deoband that studied comparative creed. He's the most knowledgeable person in Leicester. He's one of the 4 most knowledgeable people in this nation. Find me people in this nation. I don't understand why more people aren't studying from him. Find me people in this nation, Hanafi fiqh, that are as knowledgeable as him, that have been given permission to teach by the Mufti of Sham. Find them. If you want to continue to be Hanafi and study Hanafi fiqh, you've got to make some decisions now. Alhamdulillah, I don't have this issue, but you do. And you have to make a proper decision, because the fact of the matter is, you want to study, you want to learn, you've got to make some decisions, you've got to make choices. You may have to do some immigrating or carpooling or something where you can sit down and study. Because these people have the ilm, they have the deen. And then they say, well, these people, they follow this people, they follow those people. Okay, find the quotes where they do. Other than when he was asked about it, I've never found Muhammad Adam al-Kawthari, Imam Muhammad Adam al-Kawthari, I've never heard him even mention them. Other than when he was asked about them, I've never heard Sheikh Rada Haq even mention them. Other than when he was asked about them, I've never heard Imam Ahmad Ali mention them. They're not mu'tamid. They're people within Deoband. But they are not Deoband itself. And that's why these scholars, they're different. So you have to exercise some proper maturity and some case-by-case skills. I hope that answered your question. Yes.
Sorry, just further on to it. Do you know, it's like since two parts really, because you know they fall under the same umbrella of Deobandi. So it's like you're saying that you have to take them on a case-by-case basis. Basically means that you have to exercise caution when you come to others, because it's like. But the thing is, like on the onset to layman, it's like, you know, how would they know that this person's creed is not of the Salaffiyah?
Okay.
Like if they came across like a Deobandi, like a heavily, if they lived in a heavily populated Deobandi city, how would they know that the Deobandi creed that they're holding is Salaffiyah?
Okay. Question is, how would someone know that the Deobandi creed that someone is holding would be of Salaffiyah and would not be? Just by them living in a heavily populated Deoband area, it could be the case that as a layman they might not know. No. Alhamdulillah, I would say that no, they would know, because certain things that are unique to al-muwahidun, like their belief that most of the ummah is astray or kuffar, their belief that the dead, once thoroughly dead, don't hear and have any communication with the living or the outside world, that the intercession with the dead, or intercession by mentioning the dead, is idolatry. And things such as this are clear-cut markers. I mean, someone hears something like that, there should be alarm bells going off and sirens and all these things, because these are clear markers of Salaffiyah. Whereas if you look at Imam Muhammad bin Ali al-Kawthari, you find all the boxes are ticked, they're marked, his theology is valid because he meets all the requirements. If you find someone who shares your same theology, that's the proof right there. If you find someone who differs in their theology, now you shouldn't go looking into it saying, I better make sure that this person, no, this is precisely what the Salafiyyah does. They look into it and I better ask you and write it down. No, if someone hasn't shown you anything that contradicts the proper creed, we assume that that person is upon the proper creed.
So why have they got this stigma attached to them that they are actually Deobandi? Because I mean, as far as I know, it's like they're born and bred here.
Mm. Because they're Deobandi in the sense that they're attached to the maslak, they're attached to the particular method that the Deoband University uses for teaching. They might have been through the course because they have a teaching course, a specific syllabus. And so because they've been through that, and because that's who some of their teachers were, they were in that syllabus, that Darul Ulum Academy. Because of that, they would broadly be called Deoband. That's why. The same thing with Sheikh Hassan Ali. He, to some, wouldn't consider him Deobandi because he's not firm enough on these. But fact of the matter is his creed's the same as mine. His creed's the same as mine. And so they say, well, why would we call him Deobandi? Well, because that's the university that they studied at. That's the place where they learned their deen from. It's called the Darul Ulum, and Darul Ulums all go back to that Deoband. Originally, before the split, Jama'at Ahl Sunnah and Deoband both called their places Darul Ulum. Both of them did. It's only now, and you'll find now, because I remember someone from Jama'at Ahl Sunnah wanted to open a madrasa. I said, yeah, why don't you call it Darul Ulum something? And you should have seen, subhanAllah, it's like someone's petting a cat the wrong way. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I said, why? What's wrong? You're going to be teaching the sciences of Islam. No, don't do, right? Because there's that stigma that's attached to it. So those people are Deobandi in the sense that they belong to that particular maslak. They learn their deen a specific way. They have specific books where you'll see the very long, elongated books. You'll say, what is this? Oh, this is Bukhari. So I've got all 4 volumes of Bukhari in one thick volume. And they'll have them on a shelf. And they have a specific way that they teach you the deen and specific things. In year 1, you're going to do this. Year 2, this was devised by the Deoband Academy and seen as the most efficacious way to produce muftis for tomorrow. That's why they're called Deoband. Yes? Okay. Yes?
Sheikh, another thing I think is important, the critical dimension, because the school of Deoband came about after the Indian Mutiny, which was led by the Muslims. The British went after Muslims and they wanted to divide them, the famous divide and rule. So this school was created at that time to weaken the Muslims, and they also follow the Saudis, which are also creation of the British.
Statement is that we have to remember the political dimension, because when Deoband was established, this has been after the Indian Mutiny towards the British, and that they do accept money of the Deoband from the Saudis. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. That is correct from one standpoint. Some of the Deoband do accept it. Some of them don't. My advice is, when looking at them, you will see that they are a Jama'ah that is in turmoil. Their chief leader today in the United Kingdom is Sheikh Yusuf Mutala, who is a very calm and understanding individual, very hardworking from what I know of him. He came in the 60s, established different branches of Darul Ulum and such. But he is becoming very elderly now. And I saw, when I was invited to go to the Youth Tarbiyah conference in 2002, I saw that the gulf was widening between the two Jama'ahs. So when the people gathered to do dhikr and do some other activities, there were a section that jumped up and moved out straight away. And I asked, who are these people? And they said, oh, well, these people, they're from such and such a Jama'ah. They don't do these things. I have seen different editions of Fada'il A'mal that have removed either the section on Tasawwuf or the section of Salat and Salam on the Prophet ﷺ, where it's actually shorter. So they're going through massive internal battles. And if Sheikh Yusuf Matala dies,